Hello, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today. This is your boy, Mike Lee, and you're on Plushwork TV, and we've got the financial empowerment specialist, media marketing maven. We call her the one and only, or I call her BRANDI billionaire, Bridget.
Well, thank you, Mike. I will take that all day long. I received that 100%.
Yes. How are you doing, beautiful? You've got such a beautiful smile. This is our first time having you on. How are you today?
I am doing fabulous. You know, we're up and running. The family's all healthy. It's sunny outside, and I'm able to be here to be able to talk to you. So,
That's wonderful. And you are a mother of three. Is that
yes,
correct? How do you
yes.
pull all of that off with everything that you do, with everything that's going on with this pandemic and everything? I was talking with another young lady who is a doctor about just parenting, and especially with moms, having the kids in the house, the husbands in the house, you're doing your work and everything. How have you been able to maintain and find time for you?
You know, honestly, it has been a slight struggle because they are full-fledged in school. I mean, they change classes, they've got projects. So nothing's changed on the scholastic level for them. So I've had to really create a schedule. You know, every Sunday I sit down and I create that time. I get up and everything is on a schedule, thank goodness.
Wow, wow. What is it like for them to be in the house and have mom just in, because you're in everything now with school, with the husband and everything. How do they react? Is it like a wow factor for them?
It is a wow factor. I mean, they know that mom works, but
Mhm.
because mom works for herself, oh well, mom can bring a lunch because I forgot it at school. Oh, mom can bring a book bag. I forgot it in the car. She doesn't do anything. But now they get to see, oh my gosh, this is what she does
Yeah,
throughout the day.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
this is the meetings, this is how it goes on. And so they've got a deeper level of respect for what I do, but then I also have a deeper appreciation for who they are and what they do too. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
now I think this has grown our relationships a lot closer because when we were going, everyone's in
Mhm.
their own little row. And
Yes.
now we're in the house together and have to conform to everyone's schedule, be quiet while such and such is doing this, move over here, do this, and really helping each other. That it's it's that's the silver lining of it, is that we're all together and we're able to now kind of see through each other's lens a little bit
That's
more.
that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. What has all of this meant to you personally, just being able to sit still, watch everything and see where things are going, knowing that we're going to come out of this, but
Yeah.
still there's a message within all of this. What has been the message for you?
Mike, you know, the message is probably a little bit different for me than most people.
Mhm.
6 years ago, I was widowed. My husband was killed in a car accident.
Oh my, I'm so
And
sorry.
thank you. They were 5, 4, and 4 months old. We had been out of the military for about 8 months when that happened. And so having to pick up the baton and move on and carry life and take care of 3 kids, we never stopped. You know what I'm saying? We tried to bring back life to as much normal as possible. And so now being forced to stop really has allowed us to have some moments that we didn't have before. They've come to me, they've grieved, they've cried. You know, even though I have a significant other and he's amazing,
Mhm.
but they've allowed and expressed themselves to me in certain ways that if we were still on this train called everyday life,
Mhm.
we might not have had those breakthroughs. So I appreciate the quiet moments. I
Mhm.
appreciate the time together. It allows me to get more into mommy mode and just kind of evaluate where we are as a family, and kind of even reevaluate what's going to be my new normal after this. You know,
Wow.
I kind of like being home a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. I definitely want to ask you this question because of what you just shared with us. And this is a show also about empowerment. How were you able to get through those tough times with your children, with yourself, and push through that as a single mother? How were you able to get through that?
God, I mean,
Mm.
I don't know what people's beliefs are, but our last year in the military, we were in California, and I got really involved in the church. I was on I was in the choir and the ministry, and I really didn't understand what that was for or why I was. I thought I was just doing it to be a representative of my children, of where they need to turn, but I
Mhm.
didn't know it was setting me up for one of the times of my life that I was going to need him the most. And
Mm.
so between God and my family and the village, that we have here in the Fort Washington, DC, Maryland area, that's the only way we would have gotten through is the love of my family. We're a very close-knit family. Me relying on God and stepping out on faith and not always thinking that I have the plan, because
Wow.
my plan is never the plan. I learned to rely on his plan and to just walk by faith,
Wow,
which was hard, but that's what we did.
that's what we do. Isn't that the truth? That's
Yeah.
great. Tell us about your platform, and what the brand, Branding Bridget. What do you do? What is your platform about?
So I started out as just a serial entrepreneur. I have been in the health field. I've helped people lose anywhere from 20 to 200 pounds when we lived in California.
So I'll be calling you after the.
And I'm still
Oh,
passionate about that.
right.
When I came back to the East Coast, it really just wasn't the time where people were welcoming health as they were on the East Coast. And so I moved away from that after my husband passed, because he was my partner in that. And I actually got into the marketing field. So we started doing video productions, video websites, social media management, networking,
Nice.
connecting. And I understood that my passion wasn't so much just health, but it was helping people. And I love helping people. And so our company, which is still around, eFocus Media Group, for the last 11 years, we've been helping nothing but small to medium-sized business owners on their marketing, right? But then business owners started coming to us and saying, well, I want to build this legacy. And that's kind of why I have on the shirt today. They want to build these businesses to carry on for their children, to create something, to create a better lifestyle for their children financially. But so many entrepreneurs are just barely meeting it. And they're not able to do the needs that their family need. And being a person that I thought the military was going to take care of me, when my husband passed, I realized that we had no life insurance. The military didn't have that in place for us, because we were medically separated. And so recently, within the last 3 years, I've figured out that life insurance is one of the key financial wealth building strategies. And we as a people are not aware of that. We think it's just something you leave behind when you die. Oh, it's just, I don't need to leave much because when I die, my bills die too, and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
But I got to learn from some of the wealthy on how they leverage this thing called life insurance. And it became an eye opener for me. And so I started helping small business owners create retirement plans using life insurance, which is not a new thing. It actually was being done 50 years before traditional 401ks came out, right?
Is this a thing that is just that we don't know about it?
Correct.
Okay, go on. Yeah,
correct. And so I started using that and putting it back into our atmosphere. I started doing some research and studying and saying that they say statistically 1 out of 2 people will become chronic, or terminally ill in their lifetime. We just don't know to what severity or how long it's going to take them to recover. But yet we don't have emergency funds set aside for when we get sick. Heck, we don't even have regular emergency funds set aside. 53% of America doesn't have a savings whatsoever. And we see that right now during this COVID event. And so I said, how can I help people? How can I take all these different things that I've learned? And I've learned that through financial empowerment and education, there are platforms out here that can help us leverage all of those. There are certain situations where you could put away $50, $100 a month. And if you get sick, you have potentially access to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wow. That you don't have to get the bank's approval for. So therefore, Bank of America is not coming to you and saying, hey, it's time to pay that mortgage or you got to get out.
Right.
Wells Fargo's not coming to you and saying, hey, you can't pay that car payment. I know you're using that car to get back to chemo and forth from chemo, but unfortunately, we need our money. Wow. I don't want to see our people in medical bankruptcy anymore. That is one of the #1 causes of foreclosures, short sales, is because something happens to us health-wise and we haven't properly planned. But that's because we haven't had the financial education to know what we need to do.
Right.
And so I'm trying to set everybody up. I'm trying to make sure everybody's good.
That's amazing. I'm like trying to get in line now. Like your phone should be actually ringing already. I'm calling you already. So that's great. So in a position like myself or anyone who would be watching, what are some of the first steps you want to get your finances, your life, or yourself and things in order, what are some of the first steps? And when I say some of the first steps in contacting your organization, or what would be the next step to do? What should be done here? Because
You know, honestly, I want you to write down some goals. What are your goals in life?
look, I almost picked the pen up. I was like,
Right? I
I'm
love
such
it.
a good student. Look,
Yes, you are. What are your goals?
I'm
Is
sorry.
it
This
to,
is for the audience, not me. Sorry. Pen down.
do you want to get financially set up? Are you looking to get physically healthy? Are you trying to take your mental space and put it in a more positive light? What are your goals? Because honestly, when we sit down, I'm talking to you about all of it, because you can't get one area of your life right and have everything else raggedy. It all comes together.
Uh-huh.
And then when we sit down, we want to talk about your budget. Have you sat down and ever written a budget? Do you know how much money you have cut out spending just because we've been stuck in the house? How much have you saved? You know, and we want to have a real conversation about your budget. This is a no judgment zone here.
Right.
Trust me. When my husband passed away, I was an entrepreneur. I had just moved back to the DC area. And when he died, I didn't know how the next dollar was going to come in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a no judgment zone.
Absolutely.
But we have to know where the root of it is before we start solving it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we do that, we sit down and we look at a needs analysis. Okay, what's going on in your life? You know, have you just purchased a home? Are you trying to purchase a home? Does your job have portable benefits for you? Do you even know what portable benefits are? How much are you paying in life insurance? Do you have long-term, short-term disability? You know, what is your retirement plan looking like? Do you have one? Are you putting away to that? Is your job matching towards that? Those are all those candid conversations that we're going to have. And then once we put all that on the table and we cry and come together, then we're going to sit there and develop a strategy for you, because every single person is different. You're on a different journey, and we want to customize something that works and is comfortable for you. And at the end of the day, you can say, you know what, I took a step in the right direction, because as soon as you take one step, then the second one is easier. The third one's even easier. And that's how you make change in your life. 2020 is about change. This COVID is about change.
This COVID
This
is
all
about
is
change.
here to show us that we got to do some changes.
Yes, yes. The reboot, I call it. Yes.
Yes.
I want to go into something, because you just triggered some great, stimulated some great questions in my mind here. I want to talk about the African American community.
Yes.
And I want to talk about finances and the layers of finances, because you've got one layer that is not as fortunate financially. Then you have another layer that's a little bit better, but still not as fortunate financially. And then you've got another layer that's, hey, we're doing pretty good here. We're making ends meet. We've got the bills paid, but we have no savings. Then you've got another level that's kind of got it all together. Now we've got these different layers of finances and lifestyles. When are you ready financially to come to, and how do I want to articulate this? We can want those things in order, but if you're not financially together first, how are you going to get them in order? So I guess my question is what bracket, when are you financially ready to move into that step of, okay, I've gotten some things together in my life that I know that I can pay for this, because it's almost like you can't go to a psychiatrist unless you're paying the psychiatrist, because the psychiatrist is not free. So when are you ready financially to make that step to get the rest of your life together? And then if you're not ready, how do you get ready?
Correct. You're ready the minute you start bringing in a paycheck.
Okay.
I want everybody to understand, especially in our community, we always wait until this magic time. And that magic time never happens, because it always changes.
Because we're thinking, I need to make the $100,000 or the $200,000, but I hear this. So the $40,000 is not going to work, because I'm here and I'm there. But go on. Great.
I don't care if you're making $20,000. You need to call me, because we need to make that $20,000 work for you, and you need to have a plan. Even though you may not be ready to do certain things in the plan, but you've got to create the plan to know what you need to strive to in order to get there. We can't wait any longer. Trust me, we cannot wait any longer. And I'm going to throw this little tidbit out here. The reason we can't wait any longer is not just COVID. It is what COVID is doing financially to us that we don't even understand.
Wow.
We are putting out, the government just wrote a $1.2 trillion stimulus check on an empty bank account.
Mm.
So let me tell you how that's going to impact everybody, especially those people that think that they don't have a dime to put away. They
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that get taxed the most when it comes to federal taxes. We are the backbone of our government. They get their money from us. And so if we don't start getting smarter about what we're doing, whether we are a single mom making minimum wage or a multimillionaire in the African American community, we've got to put a different lens on, because in 2025, there's already a law in place that taxes are going to go up,
Mm.
period. People they don't talk about it. They don't want,
Yeah.
they don't know.
Yeah.
But because now we were already in a national debt before COVID, and now we've just increased that by trillions of dollars. And then on top of that, more people are aging, even though a lot of them are passing away to this, but we still have an influx of people that are going to need Social Security. And that bucket is already a shaky bucket because it doesn't have enough coming in and it needs more going out. We are going to be in a place where they are going to have to raise taxes, and not just a little bit, but a lot of it. And
Mm.
so if we don't start putting our ways and making steps before 2025 to get ourselves in order, we are going to be the backbone of that tax increase and paying so much more, and we will never get out of this financial disparity.
Wow. Ooh, that was great. You answered, you gave me exactly what I wanted. Thank you
I'm
very,
glad.
very much. Um, how are, in the midst of everything that's going on, and we'll talk about this Maserati too in a minute.
My birthday present.
I want to be like Bridget when I grow up.
Thank you.
How are you thriving? Your business thriving and everything with everything that's going on? How are you
You
thriving?
know, we've probably seen about a 30% increase
Okay.
since COVID has happened. And
Uh-huh.
it's because our heart is to help the community.
Mm.
You know, our heart is, I had a young lady call me the other day, and she recently joined my agency as a agent. Last year, she had a conversation, a kitchen conversation. You know how we do as Black folk, we have them kitchen conversations, and she was
Mm-hmm.
talking to them about how she was getting into this field. And her mother-in-law said, you know, I've got insurance, I'm covered, I'm good, we don't need to talk about it. Well, her mother-in-law just passed from COVID, right?
Oh man.
And her mother-in-law, when they went to go look at the insurance policies, they thought that she had a stable amount of income in a policy that she's been paying for. But guess what? That policy was only $5,000.
Mm.
That's not enough to do a traditional funeral.
Yeah.
That woman had to be cremated, even though she didn't want to be.
Mm.
But financially, that's all the family could afford. And so now here you have a family who's having to go against a person's wishes that they knew because they couldn't financially afford something. And that lays with them for the rest of their lives.
Mm.
And now they're looking and saying, oh my goodness, if something were to happen to me, is my house in order?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm having those is your house in order conversations all day with people. I'm having those conversations. I had another lady call me. She said, we talked the beginning of this year and she was so excited. She was like, I get to retire in December. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey. And then this hit.
Mm.
She dragged her feet by working with me. She said, I'll get to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
And this hit, she just lost over $200,000 in her retirement account. And now she can't retire in December.
Oh my God, that's awful.
These are the kinds of conversations that we're having with people and sharing these types of stories and saying, you know what, it's time to assess.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we've had an uptick in business, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm grateful that that means that there's 30% more people out here that have an open eye to that. They know they need to do better and want to do better. And really, that's what my calling on my life is just helping people understand how to be financially secure, give their families that peace of mind,
Mm-hmm.
and really make sure that they have stability.
Absolutely. Let's talk about 401k and how all this impacts our 401k. Can you talk a little bit about that for our community?
Absolutely. Right now, you guys, I don't want to hear another person say that they haven't looked at their 401k account since this COVID started because they don't want to know what they've lost. Okay, I'm gonna need you to put the big person pants on
Mhm.
and look at those accounts and really face it head on and say, oh my goodness, this is what I've lost, because you will only then know how to pivot and how to recreate that, and we can have a real conversation, because everybody's lost right now and you're going to continue to lose if
Mhm.
you don't understand that there are options to recreate that, to increase that, and redivert that. And so you need to go look at that fourth quarter statement from last year
Mhm.
and look at this first quarter statement and see the nuts and bolts of that, and then let's talk. And it's not just the 401ks. You know,
Mhm.
people are sitting here talking about we need to give our police officers, our firefighters, EMS, and nurses a raise.
Mhm.
But you know that's not going to happen.
Not gonna happen. Yeah.
And so if that's not going to happen, let's do one better. Let's protect the money that they're putting away for when they're older, when
Yeah.
their time to relax is. Let's show them some different ways that they can excel and leverage the sacrifice they're doing now to grow a better financial future for them later.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's talk about some of the new age difficulties we face with finances to date that are different from, let's say, 10, 20 years ago.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, one is inflation.
Mm.
Two is just the amount of debt that the country's in.
Mm.
Three is these crazy laws that keep popping up.
Mhm.
Four is just the cost of living. I mean, it's just
Rising cost of
outrageous.
living. Yeah.
It is outrageous. Education, they're not pouring it back into our educational system. So a lot of times people are having to pay outrageous amounts for a private school or move out into an area where they have long commutes to work. It's just a different way of life. And then we have to have different tools now. You know,
Mhm.
I've never known 6 and 5 year olds that need their own computers and their own iPads and phones now. That
Phones.
back
Yep.
in the day, that would have been unheard of, but now that's a necessity. You know, everybody in the house is on a computer. So
Everyone.
the
Yep.
amount of technology, the amount of money that you have to spend on everyday utilities has just increased. And I was telling my kids the other day, I said, guess what? We've got to create the new cool. The
Mhm.
cool ain't the red bottoms.
New
The
cool.
cool ain't driving around, you know, in those expensive cars unless you have the first level of cool put
Yeah.
together, which
Yeah.
means a complete diverse wealth portfolio. That
Yeah.
means an estate planned. That means a will. That means a living power of attorney, a medical power of attorney. All these types of things. Until you got that house in order, you ain't cool no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's cool. Having a savings account is what's cool, and not just a traditional one, but finding a high yield savings account that's going to work for you. That's what's cool. Because if you got all that in place, guess what? That takes the stress off of you. And
Mhm.
stress is one of the most underlying things that you will see in many of these health conditions that can plague our community: high blood pressure, diabetes, all strokes, all of that is stress. That subcutaneous fat that when you work out and it just won't go nowhere, that's
Mhm.
stress.
Mm.
And a lot of our day-to-day stress is trying to make ends meet, trying to pay Peter while we robbing Paul. And
Yep.
we have to just stop sometimes and take into account and fix one thing at a time, and everything else will fall into place.
That is awesome. Got to give you a big shout out. In 2017, you were featured in the Oprah magazine, you and
Thank you.
your team. Let's talk about your incredible team, because we all know we can't do things by ourselves.
No.
It's an incredible team. Let's talk about that fabulous team and you, to get such an accolade, that to be featured. Come on, Oprah.
Thank you.
What was
Thank
that like for you?
That was a huge moment. That was a huge moment for our team,
Mm,
because that just shows that our work doesn't go unseen.
mm,
At the end of the day, I call them my agents of change. Where
mhm,
our thing every day is to go out here and just to be an agent of change, and
mm,
to help at least one person change their lives. And so Oprah is big for announcing and really understanding that. And so we have grown in a very short time, over the past 3 years, to over 300 agents nationwide that
mm,
have my same philosophy. Last year, we were able to put over $33 million back into our communities.
mm.
And yet we were still able to pay out over $500,000 in commissions. in a very short time, just last year alone. And
Hmm.
that shows that we are out here trying to not only change the face of those in finance, but
Hmm.
change the demographic of those that are receiving it. You can see COVID is talking about how it's hitting us harder, and it's only hitting us harder because we have these health challenges. Let's not talk about COVID. Let's get to the root of it, and let's talk about health. Let's talk about these food deserts. Let's talk about how we eat. Let's talk about our actions, our lack of activity. Let's talk about the real stuff. And then when we talk about finances, it's not that, yes, we've been undereducated, but let's talk about the real stuff. What our own community shows us that we should be doing. Buying the fancy cars and big jewelry and this, that, and the third, and being bank account broke. We can't keep doing that anymore. We've got to make sure that we have multiple emergency buckets of money and that we are living within our means, but we're also treating ourselves in a certain fashion and having these kitchen conversations on a daily with our kids about what is a stock, what is a bond, what is a commodity, what is this, what is that, and showing them how they can start doing little things today and nurturing those financial those sharpening those financial tools in our own houses, and really start taking accountability for what we can do on our own. Because at the end of the day, it's about what we can do. Our government may or may not be here for us. So we got to start doing it ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, that's very well said. I was speaking with some friends of mine. The topic keeps coming up that it is impacting our community. And I've been watching some celebrities and people get out here and talk. But to me, what's aggravating me is exactly what you just said. We're not zoning in on the fact that our community, we we eat our health, we've got health issues. We've got
Yes.
obesity issues. We've
Yes.
got heart issues. We've got diabetes, all these things that work against us when something like this takes place. So I also agree with you. We should be dealing first with us and what we've done to impact ourselves, and then move into those other areas. And I'm
Yep.
not hearing people pull up to that. I'm
Nope.
hearing,
They're not
I'm
pulling
hearing
up
us
to it.
dance around. They're out to get us, and the this and the that. And I'm not really
Yep.
big on those types of things. What are we doing to make it
Nope.
better? What are we doing to what have we done for 5 years or 6 years to eat so bad, not work out, not take care of ourselves, to get us to a place where when something like this happens, we're impacted. So well said. Did you want to add something to that?
I was going to say that I could have sat here and been, woe is me. The military didn't have anything for me. I could have gone on welfare and food stamps and this, that, and the third, and I could have just taken the handouts,
Hmm.
if I took the woe is me concept. But I said, you know what? I've got to show my kids that we're stronger than that. Our ancestors were stronger than that. They did so much to make sure that we get to the place that we are, that I've got to dust my shoulders off and I've got to work hard. I've got to stay laser focused, and I've got to show them that we can surpass anything if we put
Anything.
our mind to it. And that's getting back to that Oprah, that kind of was the icing on the cake to say, you know what, you did it, and you're going to keep
Look at that.
doing it.
Look at that. Yeah.
And all right, I did that.
You
We did
did that,
that. And, and it was like, I thank God for all of those things, and for him allowing me to just be here still to really reach out and touch people. And we're going to do this till the wheels fall off, sir.
Amen. That's so wonderful. I want to congratulate you on your purchase of that wonderful car, the
Thank
Maserati, and the fact that you might be doing a commercial. Tell us about that before we
you.
close.
Yes. So, I've always been one to really want to just do for others first.
Yes.
And I met this wonderful gentleman, Dave Rich, and he said, this would look really nice on you. And I said, you think? And
Mhm.
he said, it's time. And
Yes.
so I said, let's go for it. And so I'm fully appreciative that I've got the house in order. Then I went for the car.
Absolutely. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
because then that can show people, you can have the best of both worlds too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited about this commercial. I'm honored
Yeah.
to be selected for it. And
Yeah.
I look forward to representing what women are doing right now in our society, and what we can do in the future.
So kudos to women, movies, directing, medical field. Women are really pulling up. Uh, may even have a vice president.
Yes.
You know, moving into the White House, man. So kudos to women. I want to say thank you today for joining us right here on Plushwork TV. For more on this incredible Brandy Bridget, you can go to www.theagencynationalharbor.com. Did I get that right?
You sure did.
That again, that's www.theagencynationalharbor.com. You can also follow her on at MSBBTOU on her Instagram. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Thank you, Mike. It was certainly a pleasure. Pleasure.
And
God bless and stay safe.
God bless. And you know you'll be hearing from us, right?
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right,
you.
take care. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.